Welcome to the Wayne Bennett Podcast, celebrating West Virginia's people, places, and the culture of Southern Appalachia. Now here's your host, Wayne Bennett.
Welcome to Wayne Bennett's Podcast. I'm your host, Wayne Bennett. It's episode 158. It's January the 23rd, 2025, and baby, it's cold outside. Today, our guest is a member of the National Wrestling Hall of Fame. He is a former Greenbrier East athletic director and coach. He is now the director of the West Virginia Wrestling Duels Team State Championship. Mr. Brian Miluk, welcome.
Thank you, Wayne. Appreciate it. It's an honor.
I've heard a little bit about your life as an adult, but I haven't heard much about your early childhood. Tell us a little bit about your childhood.
Well, it goes way back. I'll tell you that much. First of all, I was lucky. I'm a very lucky person. I was born in Parma, Ohio, a family with 7 kids and parents, and went to St. Charles High School, went to Padua High School, moved on, went to Ashland College. As soon as I got out of Ashland College, I coached at St. Ed's for 10 years, wrestling, and then I coached at Padua Franciscan High School for 10 years, worked in their development department. And my wife had an opportunity to come down to West Virginia.
Okay, hold on. We're getting ahead of ourselves.
Yeah.
When you were in high school, did you participate in any other sports besides wrestling?
No. Once I got into high school, I just continued just to wrestle. I only weighed 83 pounds when I was a freshman in high school. I was very, very small. And so I couldn't go out for football. I did try to go out for baseball, but I was just too small. And
now,
so
did you wrestle? Did they have junior high wrestling? And
well, what I did was I played basketball in CYO at St. Charles. And what I was doing, this is how I got into wrestling. I was on my way back. I made the all-star team in 8th grade for basketball. And I was on my way back to turn in my uniform. And I had to cut through the gym. And I ran into Mr. Mason and a couple Mason members. And actually, they had 16 kids in their family. So that's a pretty big family. And they talked to me into wrestling. They said, Miluk, come on, you got to wrestle. I said, I'm not going to wrestle. They said, no, we need you for this one tournament, and we need you to go. And I said, I've never wrestled. Just do this one tournament. And I went there, and sure enough, it was their city championships, but they qualified me because they had nobody at that lower weight. And I wrestled that day, and I got beat 18-1. I remember that because the 1 point I got was for unsportsmanlike conduct. The guy was just beating me pretty bad, but I became good friends with that Mike Bryant, and we used to talk to each other when we were in the finals of other tournaments at the high school. But so then I wrestled all summer with them, with the Mason family, and went on to Padua, like I said. I wrestled as a freshman because I was too small. And then my sophomore year, I wrestled 98. Junior year, wrestled 98. And then at my senior year, I bumped all the way up to 112. And then I wrestled 118 in college at the beginning.
Now, was Padua a private school?
Yes, yep. It was a parochial school in Parma, Ohio. Yep.
Now, when you went to Ashland, and this was Ashland, Ohio.
Ashland, Ohio, yes.
And I told you before, Jerry Bender that used to coach at Spencer, I think he went to Ashland.
Oh, yes,
earlier.
Yeah, yep.
And Ashland had a pretty good, it was probably Division III back
correct.
Then when you were there.
Yes.
And I think it's Division II now, but they have a good wrestling program.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
And a couple of names that I remember from back in those days, I don't know whether it was before you were there, but Chris Ford was the coach.
He's the coach. He was my freshman and sophomore year, yes.
And there was a David Toth,
yep.
and Joe Carr.
Yep, yeah. One of the Carr families, yes.
Yeah, some of those guys, pretty outstanding wrestlers. Now, after you got out of Ashland, you went. How did you get the job at St. Edward?
St. Edward's High School. All right. I was competing at Ashland. I graduated. Right before I graduated, Bobby Mason, one of the Masons I mentioned earlier, he was on the coaching staff at St. Ed's. And Ferguson, the head coach at the time, said he wanted somebody that was still competing, someone that was just getting out of college, somebody that fresh, that could drill with the wrestlers. And he mentioned my name. So then I came home for a break, probably had to be around Easter time or something. So I went over to Ferguson's house and I met with him. And he pretty much signed me right there to become one of the coaches at St. Edward High School.
Now, St. Edward's, for maybe some of the listeners that don't know, back in that time, and they still have a very good wrestling program, but they were the best. I mean, they won 10 state championships. They won 6 national championships. They were the team that you read about and followed as far as the and they were a parochial school also.
Correct. Oh yes.
And they, I'm sure they recruited.
Well, what was nice, what we always said is there was no such thing as a St. Edward Junior High. There was no such thing. So they had to go out and get different people. And at that time, the CYO system was tremendous. I mean, it was one of the best feeder programs you could have anywhere. So, and then once you got good, people wanted to come to St. Ed's, that's for sure.
Now, Howard Ferguson was the head coach, and this school was in Lakewood, Ohio. He made a comment about you one time. I read this. Let me read it. I think I've got this. And speaking of you, he said, he can teach and he's always totally happy. If he retires from coaching, he can become a comedian. Make no mistake about it, the little guy who makes me laugh can coach. That's quite a compliment.
Well, he was quite a person, that's for sure. And I was blessed. I was very lucky. He probably did become my best friend. Actually, when I was working with him on the book The Edge, we'd stay up till like 11 o'clock, midnight. He'd send me to the library the next day. He'd make me phone calls. He actually built an addition onto his house so I would move in and stay with him there. So I lived with him for more than a couple of years, and I still keep in touch with his daughter all the time. So bottom line is, yes, we used to run the streets, getting in shape. We'd work out. He had a wrestling room in his basement. I was there nonstop, and people talk about, how good Kyle Dake is. I remember working out with his dad, Doug, in the basement, him and Mike Deanna. So, I mean, it goes back, way back in the day. I have so many memories. It's tremendous. But, it was great. We used to golf all the time and compete and hang out. We actually, talking about being a comedian, we took his daughter to see Rodney Dangerfield on her 18th birthday. And that was the type of humor I used at the banquet and stuff. So it was good stuff. I was lucky. I was blessed, very beyond blessed, and of all the people that I got a chance to meet and all the kids that I've wrestled with. And
not only were you helping him coach, you were the contributing editor of this book that St. Edward put out, and Ferguson, it was called The Edge.
Correct.
And tell me a little bit about that book. I've actually got a copy of that book. A friend gave me for for Christmas one time. And what kind of work? What'd you do? What kind of work did you put into that?
Bottom line, it was one of the main reasons I think where he built a addition on his house for me to move in is because we were working on this nonstop. He had a dream. He just wanted to make sure he could help other people tremendously. And what we would do, and we would send letters out to different media personalities, college professors, pro Hall of Famers, all kinds of just successful people. And we'd ask them, what's your success? What was your reason for you to be successful? And we would get letters back nonstop. And, some of them were handwritten, some were typed up, and some would send 8x10 photographs. Actually, I still have a little album, 45, I think it was, of Ernie Banks. He sent an album, some other pictures and stuff. So anyways, bottom line is they would send all this stuff together, and then we'd take all these different quotes that we had, and he started putting them into different chapters in the book, whether it was discipline, whether it was character, all kinds of different things. And he took those and he made a hard copy. He wanted to be a tabletop or a coffee table book, I guess you'd call it, and he just wanted to make it really clean and classy, what it was.
I wonder if that book is still available on Amazon.
It is available at Amazon. I've bought a couple extra copies for my daughters because I didn't really talk about the Edge that much. And then all of a sudden, as they get older, they start checking you out. And with Google, they said, Dad, I didn't know you were a contributing author of the book. And I go, yeah, you did this. And I remember some of the times, and again, I don't want to talk about me that much, but I remember we went on a book tour one time, and John Wooden, the coach from UCLA, was there. He was talking about his book, Call Me Coach, and we were talking about the Edge. Ferguson wasn't there, so I had to do the talk. And we were talking about who'd go first, and he said, why don't you go first, Miluk? I said, no, you can go, Coach, that's all right. And we were going back and forth. We had a tremendous conversation. So I had him even sign his quote in my book, so I got a chance to meet him, and I can go on with all the different people. I remember Gary Player called from South Africa, talking and giving his words, and I'd write them all down. And there was a lot of things. And you know, I like humor a lot, so I'd get my buddies. They knew I was working on the book, so they'd give me the prank phone calls. Yeah, this is Yogi Berra. If you can give me a call back, and I'd call back. It was one of my knucklehead friends. So yeah, we had and that's one thing we did make sure we had fun doing it. So it was never really it was like, I should say it was a labor of love. It was never where, man, I got to work again today. I would get up early, go to the library, go to the Plain Dealer. I still think we put the Cleveland Press out of business because we went and got so many of their pictures to put into the book. And I'd come home and we'd go through all these pictures with Red Auerbach and this person. We get all these old pictures. And Ferg would say, okay, take them back next week. Take them back next week. And then sure enough, the press went out of business. And I go, Ferg, I think we took all their pictures.
That's like you mentioned John Wooden. When the only time I ever coached basketball, I was coaching 6th grade basketball at Sophia Elementary. And I actually had to coach to get the job at the school. And I knew very little about basketball. And I went to the library and checked out his book, Pyramids to Success.
Oh, yeah.
And I kept it a year and a half. And when I quit coaching, I took it back to the library. But it was worth every bit of the fine I had to pay. But when did you meet your wife? Gail.
Wife? Yeah. Gail Olson. I shouldn't even say this out loud, but long story short is I keep telling my kids because they ask about what I did. I said, geez, oh man, I was at a St. Edward's for 10 years. You know what I mean? I was living with a millionaire. And he built an addition on his house. If I had a date, I'd use his Porsche. If the other next day, I'd go out and use his Jaguar. And they said, yeah, but then you married Mom. What happened? He goes, I said, oh, things got better. Things got better. And they would laugh. And so, but bottom line is I met my wife without getting into the details. I was out with a couple buddies of mine, some friends of mine that were nurses, and we were at this place, and I happened to bump into her, and we started talking, and she was a big Philadelphia Eagles fan, liked football, and I liked the Browns at the time. And I told her I had tickets to the Browns game. I go, would you want to go? And she says, yeah, I'll go. And I said, okay.
No, you were in Ashland College? Or?
Nope, I was in Cleveland, Ohio. I was coaching at St. Ed's at the time.
Okay.
I was coaching at St. Ed's at the time. And bottom line is I went home. I called Ferg. I said, Ferg, you got tickets for Sunday's game? And he says, yeah. Oh, yeah. I said, good. So I had, I was all set for the date. So it was Sunday morning. I'm making a long story short because honestly, gosh, Wayne, this is a long story. And and I won't go on that. But I said, he goes, yeah, I got them. They'll be on the kitchen table. I said, okay. So Sunday morning, I get up. I go to get the tickets. And they were the St. Ed's State Championship football game. He thought I wanted tickets to the game for the St. Ed's game. And I didn't. I wanted the Browns tickets that he had. So here I am driving out to meet this Gail, my future wife. I said, holy mackerel. So I drove out there, and she goes, hey, a bunch of my friends, they don't know who you are. They want to know where we're sitting. And I'm driving, and she's nervous. I go, well, where do you want us to sit? She goes, what do you mean? I said, I don't have the tickets yet. She goes, what? So you can imagine how panicking she was. So we ended up going to the game, and I went and got the tickets off of one of the people to, sell them before you get into the stadium because it was probably sold out. And then we didn't have exactly the greatest seats, and there's where we sat was pretty funny, but I can't talk about that. And bottom line is we had such a great time, and then she left for about a month to go to Florida, I think it was, with one of her residencies or something. And then when she came back, we started dating, and we got married.
Now, when you left
1989.
St. Edward, did you go right back to Padua or Padua?
No, actually, what I did when I left St. Edward's, you mean, from coaching?
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, yes. Yep. As a matter of fact, when I was coaching at St. Ed's, there were three people: John Price, Dale Malensky, and Joe Schumann. They came and talked to me. They said, Miluk, Padua's going to drop their wrestling program. They only have 4 kids on the team. They're talking about dropping the program. I said, no, they're not. No, we need you to come to Padua. I said, no. I go, why would I leave? I'm at a school that's 10-time state champions, national champions, like you said. I work out with these guys that are on the Olympic team. It's just great. And he goes, yeah, but they're going to drop the program. Long story short, boom, get the detail. I said, okay, I'll take the job. So I had to tell Ferg I was leaving. He says, no, you're not. You're not leaving. I said, no, yeah, I'm going to take the job. He said, no, you're not. You're not leaving. I said, well, they're going to drop the program. Don't worry about it. Well, they'll be fine. And so finally, I got the point across. So next thing you know, we had Jimmy Heffernan come in, Greg Alinsky, all these big-time names. And we went golfing, and he tried to talk me out of leaving. And finally, he finally said, okay, you are going? I said, yeah. He goes, okay, sit down. He goes, here's what you need to do. And he gave me a whole list of things that are going to help the program. And I wrote them all down, and I did what I learned from him. And when I first got to Padua, they had, like he said, 4 wrestlers. So we built that up. First year, we were 0-9. Next year, we were 13-1. The following year, we were second in the state. And then from then on, we were one of the top contenders. And it was fun. It was
you had some good teams.
Oh yeah. I had a kid that was on the U.S. national team. I've had state champions, I've national championships or champions. So yeah, we've had some pretty good teams, real good teams.
You're in the Hall of Fame at St. Edwards and Padua.
Correct. Yeah, those all 3 of those Hall of Fames.
Now, how did you end up in Lewisburg, West Virginia?
I should have been prepared for this, Wayne. I'm telling you, you're killing me, buddy. We got here. My wife had a practice in Ohio, doing well, medical practice, but she always wanted to teach. She wanted to, teach medical students, and she had an opportunity. She saw it in a newspaper, and she decided, let me go down there and take a look at this. I said, okay, all right. I thought it was just a whim, get it out of her system. And she came down and she says, I think I'm going to take it. I said, what? She goes, yeah, I think when I go down there in Lewisburg, West Virginia, it's the osteopathic school. I like it a lot. And so sure enough, I got a phone call from John Mooney, who was with the osteopathic school. And now this is no offense to him, but he has a real Southern draw. So when he called me, he said, Mr. Malak, this is John Mooney. And he started talking to me. And again, Wayne, if you know my buddies, they like to bust my chops. I thought this was my friend Larry calling me, telling me, hey, we want your wife down here. And I'd say, Larry, get off the phone. This isn't funny. She's making a decision. So sure enough, I found out it was John Mooney. I became good friends with him, and he's to this day a tremendous person. But yeah, she came down here, and we said, okay, we'll give it a chance. So I stayed back with the kids for 6 months. And then when she said, we're doing it, I said, okay. So it was Martin Luther King Day in 2004, and we drove down here. It was a snowy day. We drove down here, and we've been here for obviously 20 years now. So
now I think the first time I met you, I'm thinking it was at the SAZ tournament. You were helping Daryl Pickenpaw.
Oh yeah, yep. Great guy.
And he introduced us. Daryl and I had run into each other for years.
Oh, I'm sure.
And he introduced us, and actually my first impression, I thought, well, he probably won't be here long, because he told me from Ohio, and stuff. I said, oh, he won't stay around long. But then you went from being Daryl's assistant to the head coach.
I actually was the athletic director. I was the assistant coach. I helped Pickenpaw there. Then Gabe Frankus and I started a youth group, which was going pretty well. And then I was teaching at the middle school. I became the coach at the middle school first. And then Mr. Bryan asked me to be the athletic director. So I became the athletic director. And then when Pickenpaw stepped down, he stepped down like right before the season started. And that's when Mr. Bryan said, Miluk, because I stepped down as the AD, he goes, well, do me a favor, would you take over the wrestling program? And I said, well, he goes, if you don't take it over, we got to post it, which is 1 month. And then the next month, he said, by then we're already in the middle of January. Yeah. He says, you're already in the school system. We can help you out this way. And so I took
was the athletic director's job at that time a full-time job?
Oh, it's full-time, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, but they also,
in the past, they haven't been at...
Yeah, at that time it was, and I was also the attendance dean and a couple other titles that kept me busy. Oh, no, it was... Yeah. I was
now, you, when you took over the coaching, one of the first things you did was got into a big fundraiser for a new wrestling facility. I mean, that's a big undertaking.
It is a big undertaking. It's there's stories I can't tell on the podcast here, but yeah, actually, when I was there's great people around here. Let me just start off there. There's tremendous people. This place is loaded. I mean, you just start surrounding yourself with greatness and good things will happen. And what I did was, when I was finishing up as the athletic director, I'm realizing, because when I talked to Pickenpaw, from what he told me, they were wrestling on the stage, and that was only if basketball practice was going. Then they got bumped into the weight room, and they couldn't do that until certain times, and they had to move the weights. And then they had to go to another room, which was the old foot. And I'm going, this wrestling's too great of a sport. We can't treat it like this. And so I did do a major fundraising, and there's great people out there, and I don't want to start naming them because I'll forget the other 500 of them. And next thing you know, the visual I have is we had 40-some people in there putting trusses up and all kinds of stuff. People donated cranes, and it was just a tremendous, and it's a huge building. I mean, we have 4 full mats in there, 40 by 40. It's 100 by 80. We have a shower facility in there, we have a coach's office, we have a changing room. It's a tremendous facility. And since then, we've had great people come in there with Wade Chalice, Kevin Dresser's been in there, Tony Roby, Jared Fryer. We've had a lot of the great people in there, and I think that's what it should be used for. Wrestling's too great of a sport.
Was that around 2008, something like that?
I'd say it was 2010 maybe is when the facility was finalized.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then I think I took over in 2012. So Pick and Paul had
and
he was a big part of it too.
What's Coach Pickenpaul doing now? Is he farming?
Nah, he should be, but he's still back. He's at school. He's still with the ROTC. He's teaching there still. I saw him, and he looks pretty healthy last time I saw him. And I remember him taking my kids out to his farm on the horses and stuff. And yeah, he loves that stuff. We would go to wrestling tournaments that boggle my mind. He'd be talking to these guys about farming and horses, and I'm over there talking about Dave Schultz and Dan Gable and stuff.
Yeah, I think he was an old Marshall grad.
Correct.
I think he wrestled out of Marshall.
Yeah. Good guy. Great guy.
He another guy, too, that when I was coaching junior high football, and one of the personalities I really liked, he always came over and talked to me before game, and we had some pretty classic battles with Eastern Greenbrier. It was Arthur Erskine.
Oh, yeah.
Arthur was just... some of the other coaches, they never wanted to converse too much, but he always come over, Coach Bennett, and shake my hand. We'd talk a little bit, and he was he helped for years, and he's helped do everything.
He's tremendous. I actually have golfed with him more than enough times. He's just a good guy, and he still helps behind the scenes with the football program. He's part of he was president of the Spartan Foundation. And yeah, he's very, very loyal. He loves kids, man. He loves to help people as much as he can. He's a great guy, Arthur Erskine.
You mentioned golf. You were your golf coach too, weren't you? For a while?
Yes, yeah. Actually, I'm still right now. I'm the assistant golf coach at the high school.
Oh, are you?
Yeah. So that's
Did you
a
ever
pretty
coach
good gig.
anything else besides wrestling and golf?
At the high school level? No. I coached golf up in Cleveland, as a matter of fact, too. I was going through some old boxes of stuff, and it was fun.
When you started coaching at Greenbrier East, Greenbrier East always had some pretty good teams, and they had some good individuals. Had one heavyweight there a few years ago that won a couple state championships, but it just seemed like they didn't quite get over the hump. And then you guys won a couple regionals, first time ever, I think. And
the phrase we used a couple of times just to get the kids fired up is, it took them 30 years to have 3 regional champions, and we had 5 in one day. And so it was nice because we were building the program up, and things were going in the right direction, we thought.
And you started making your impression on the state, around the state,
we had 4.
having camps and clinics and those kind of things. Somewhere along the line, you became the president of the Wrestling Coaches Association.
I think I wasn't at that meeting. That's how I became the president.
I've been elected to a few of those roles too.
Yeah.
But now, but in that particular position, for years there had been talk about having a dual state championship. When you go to Huntington, we've been going for years, and before we'd gone to Wheeling, Parkersburg, Fairmont, it's individual with a team score. And a lot of other states have gone to an additional tournament, having a duals tournament where you wrestle head-to-head with your team. And but nobody wanted to take on the task. And as president of the Wrestling Coaches Association, they presented it to you, and what I heard, your response was, "Let's do it.
Let's do it." That's pretty much it. That's what they want. I want to do whatever the coaches want, and I remember doing that too, because I had to go down to the WVSSAC to present it to, I think, Bernie Dolan, Wayne Ryan, I think it was down there. And it makes me laugh to this day because they had a big table there with all the coaches. And these are people I look up to. This was Robbie Archer was there. Ken Mizell was up there. Sterling Bean, all the coaches that I always liked are from West Virginia. And they're all sitting at what I call the big guy table. And they had me off in like Thanksgiving where you got the kids' table. So I was sitting over there and I'm sitting there, come on. And I don't, like I said, I'm just sitting there thinking. So then finally they had me give the presentation and I talked to them about it. And I think that they pretty much bought in. And I love the idea of you got to keep the rivalries between teams. You don't want to lose any of that as far as dual meets because there's a program out right now, and I'm switching subjects on you, but right now I just watched all 4 episodes. It's called Clash of Dynasties, and it talks about the St. Edward's Walsh Jesuit dual meets that they had, and between them going back and forth winning national championships, and it's pretty cool. I'll get into that later when we're off the line here. But bottom line is, yeah, I said, okay, let's do it, and probably stole this from Ferguson, but if we're going to do it, you got to do it right. And
so now you did this from total scratch. I mean, and really hadn't got the endorsement of the secondary schools or anything. And so, I mean, you had to start with nothing. And the first year, you had it at the Greenbrier Hotel.
Correct.
And I would remember that. And I thought it was very well received. I mean, you know, people, but then after the first year, which you only had 4 teams.
Correct.
From
one represent from each region.
And but then COVID hit the next year.
That was the big factor. And without getting into details, COVID hit, and all of a sudden this conference dropped their tournament. These people dropped their tournament. And I said, no, we have to do it. If we want to be successful, you got to be consistent. You know what I mean? You have to be consistent. And so we have to have it. So sure enough, we pushed it back. And at the Greenbrier, they said, Miluk, we can't hold a block of 50 rooms for you, and every month or every week they change a different color. Remember they used to have like colors for different counties that you couldn't do stuff with COVID or whatever. So we did that, and then finally we said, okay, we're still doing it. And I even talked to the health department. Here's what you need to do, COVID protocol. And then we moved it over to the West Virginia building. Excuse me, at that time it was the Underwood building at the State Fairgrounds. And so
now you had, in the meantime, you had resigned as a coach right in that time.
Yeah, that's exactly right.
So
timing was good for that.
You actually weren't coaching during the COVID.
Correct.
You were running the tournament.
Correct. Yep.
I'm glad I wasn't coaching.
My timing turned out to be pretty nice from some of the horror stories I heard and stuff like that. And I remember getting, I don't want to get into it, but
I think the season was 5 months long. It was.
Because I look at the old dates when we even had our. When we had the state duels, I think it was in March, which was amazing.
Now you had, since then, of course, everything caught on pretty good. It's grown. You've added. There were some complaints. Well, you're going from last year's champion, and that teams have changed, and so we started having a qualifier, right?
Correct. We do have a qualifier now, and we had it before then too, but we only took like the top 2 and only brought 1. But we had to bump it up to 16 teams because that way it can be sanctioned by the West Virginia secondary schools. So we had to go to 16 teams, and that's why we bring in 2 now from each region to bring them in here. And yeah, sure. What's nice about it, that when I hear the complaints like that, that's exciting. That means they want to be there. You know, these teams are saying. And last year I had 2 teams that like called it often. They said, "Miluk, I know we didn't do that well last year, but this year we're a lot better. We're a lot better." So then we finally got, and actually those 2 teams are coming in this year, so they did get better. And
now, something I want to point out when you were coaching too, I forgot to point out when you were here at Greenbrier East. I thought one thing was kind of different and special. But I used to have a weekly article in the newspaper, the Mountain Messenger, about Wrestler of the Week or something. Yeah. And you get kids would, for whatever reason, they didn't have to be the champion of anything, but you had a different kid in there. That was very positive for wrestling. And then I like the idea your assistant Tracy Asbury would make the seniors apply for college. Tell me about that.
We did a lot of that stuff behind the scenes because wrestling, I went to a reunion recently and I got with some of the old wrestlers. I don't think anybody mentioned their record. Nobody mentioned how they did. We just talk about all the things that we did together and the relationships we built, and we had fun. But back to Tracy Asbury, that was his job. his job, he had to have each one of our seniors apply for a school, make sure they get accepted into a college. Not every kid went to college. Majority of them did, and they actually went on to wrestle. A majority, but we had to make sure they did it. And some of the kids even said, "Mr. Asbury, I'm not going to go to college." He goes, "I know you may not go to college, but I want to show you what the process is, because before you know it, you're going to have a child something, and they're going to want to go through college, and you want to just give you that opportunity." So that's what he did, and he met with the counselors, he met with the teachers at the school, and we made it so that every kid when I was there got accepted into college. Wow. Whether they won or not was something different, but that's so much more important than the wrestling. It really is, and we did a lot of things that I really miss about us with our Christmas parties. And another one too, I think you get a kick out of this story, Wayne, because you write articles and stuff, is I used to write what's called Miluk's Matters. So every week I'd have a whole article about the wrestling team and how they're doing, what we did, which kids have been recruited. We do all this stuff. We call Miluk's Matters, and I have a little trivia question. I'd have alumni stuff. And in a small town, people read that stuff. So one time I'm at Kroger, and I think you'll get a kick out of this. I'm at Kroger walking down one of the aisles, and the lady comes up to me and says, "Mr. Miluk." I said, "Yeah." She goes, "Did you see your article yet this week?" And I said, "No, I haven't seen it." She goes, "Oh, it's a good one, especially when you talk about your daughter's driving." So I said, I'll go read that. And I left. Okay. And that means, because the article just came out that morning in the newspaper, but evidently she didn't realize I wrote it, but she did. And it was, I always laugh at that situation where.
On numerous times, I have had people in the past when I first started writing, newspapers didn't cover wrestling very well. And that's actually how I got started. I told that story 1,000 times, but I just demanded, got mad at the editor when he slammed his hand down on the desk and said, "Well, if you want it, you write it yourself." And I said, "Okay." So
I got you.
But over the years, and some of the older guys, kids, I've had several people tell me, said, I'd wake up on Sunday mornings, and I'd look in the paper to see if my name was in there, and just mention a kid that wrestled in the high school. And of course, nowadays we are blessed because we have media, and we have in the Beckley, Southern West Virginia area, we have Gary Falber, who's a tremendous
big time
wrestling writer. So the kids are a little bit spoiled now, but that's good. That's and it can get better. Now, let's go over the state tournament. Two teams from each region, AA, two teams from each region, AAA, they qualify, and they will wrestle on that designated day. What do you give them? I mean, what do they get when they come here?
Here we go.
What do they look for?
Well, they are having the national
wrestling.
Yeah, they are having the national duels now, and they're getting a lot more money than I'll be given. But bottom line is, we want to make it an event, and we've been blessed there with the West Virginia State Fairgrounds. They've been great to us. What they do is they come in. A lot of them come in the night before. They get a workout in. We work with the local hotels. They give them nice hotel arrangements, and then what they do is they weigh in the morning, and then right from weigh-ins, they walk right next to the room, right next to it. They sit down, and they have a breakfast. We feed every kid, 200 people on Friday, 200 on Saturday. We feed them all. We have a trivia question for each one of the teams, and it's pretty cool because we'll pick a name and say, "Okay, John Smith from University High School, who was your first state champion at University High School?" And the kid doesn't know that. And I said, you can ask your teammates, ask your coaches and stuff like that. So finally they come up with an answer. Boom. You got it correct. Come on up here. We'll give them a prize, for whether it's from Rudis, Defense Soap, or myself. We'll give them a prize. And the kids get a kick out of that too. And I think it's important that the kids do know the history of their school. I think it's important. And we'll even at weigh-ins, we'll put up listings of all the different state champions and state place winners from each one of those schools. When the kids are waiting for weigh-in, instead of just walking around, they'll be checking out, Jimmy, I didn't realize Bill was a three-timer. I didn't realize that. And I think it's important that you know that history. And then, obviously, when you get older, you give back. So we do that, and then after the weigh-ins, and we have a guest, actually, after weigh-ins, we come and we feed them. After the trivia, we have a guest speaker. And we've had some National Hall of Fame speakers in there. We've had some local speakers in here. Last year we had one of the osteopathic school kids, Mike Carr, who wrestled for Illinois, and he was talking about how when he beat Nick Lee from Penn State, who was a national champion, world team member, and stuff like that. He talked about that and how wrestling helped him in medical school, and now he's a doctor in Pennsylvania. So Yeah, we've had some tremendous guest speakers, and then from there they go over to our state fairgrounds, and we have photographers there. We even had a guy who does a video. He's got a drone flying around to take highlight films of the whole event that's going on. We do a parade of champions. We have the color guard come out. We even have our superintendent of schools does the national anthem. And then we do a little bit of announcing. We have Flow Wrestling as live streamed it the last 5 years. And then we have the events, and it's great wrestling. It's great wrestling. And last year it came down to the heavyweight match against University and Parkersburg South. And even with the one before, Bone Cutter with Point Pleasant against Fairmont, they were shuffling their lineup to make sure to do it and all the strategy there. And that one came down to a one-match decision, too. So there were some great matches. It got loud in there. I mean, real loud. Yeah. And then once they're done, we take the pictures again for the team champion, the runner-up. And then each team has an individual most outstanding wrestler. And they come up and we, give them a round of applause, congratulate them. And now some of our most outstanding wrestlers, like Peyton Hall, Gage Wright, these guys are all wrestling Division I. They're all Americans. But when they win the most outstanding award, they come up and we give them a Rudis bag. And it's full of like a shirt, socks, hats, trinkets, lanyards, all kinds of stuff. They fill those bags up and give them to the kids. And it's pretty nice because I'm blessed again. Wayne, I can't go on how lucky I am. Jesse Lang is the CEO and the head of Rudis. And so he donates all those things for the different teams. And he's just a tremendous, tremendous person. And he was on my club team way back. He goes, Miluk, you're the one who taught me how to hit a leg lace. My dad used to tell me stories about you and blah, blah, blah. But he's a tremendous, tremendous human being. And his daughter actually wrestles for Iowa right now. And she's actually on the academic All-American team. So anyways, he helps out that way. And Defense Soap, Gus Seiko, they're tremendous friends of mine. Charlie Agazzino, he works with them. And they send us the bars of soap and the containers to give to the kids. So we try to give these kids as much as they can because people have no idea how hard these kids work. When I used to coach, I say, people talk about kids. Oh, these kids nowadays, all they do. I go, my room was open. Please come inside. Please come in. See how hard these kids work. See them cry. See them get hurt. See them get back up. See them succeed. And so what would happen is I want to just take care of these kids. I want to take care of them, make it an event. So when they're talking 6 years from now, they don't, did we come in fourth in the duels or second? I can't remember. But do you remember when Michael got that answer wrong and you guys were laughing at him or, stuff like that. So anyways, I want to make an event out of it.
It takes a village to to move the mats, and you have to have a lot of help. And evidently the area has been into having the events here.
I think I mentioned this about an hour ago. We have great people around here. Greatness. There's greatness all around us. If I needed something done, there's somebody in this town that's great and said, Miluk, what can I do to help kids?
Now, things can't always stay the same. This year, you have a new award.
Yes.
And this has never been done before. I think it's a fantastic idea. Tell us a little bit about the award.
Well, the award I want to give is a situation where when I think of college football, I think of the Heisman, okay? When I think about the NFL, the Lombardi Award, hockey, the Stanley Cup. And I'm thinking, too, and I coached for too many years, long story. And what happens is you win these awards, you take them back to the school, they put them in the locker room or something, they put them somewhere, and you don't always see them all the time, and you're the head coach. So this year what I'm doing is I'm having an award strictly for the head coach. It's going to be something clean and classy. It's a crystal, beautiful, beautiful trophy. It's going to be his to go home with him. And what the award is, and I thought about this for the longest time, and when I first moved here to West Virginia, one of the most influential people with West Virginia wrestling and has helped me throughout my years here is Bill and Diana Archer. Just tremendous Hall of Fame people. Heck with the Hall of Fame people, I should say, not Hall of Fame wrestling people, Hall of Fame people. And I wanted to give a tribute to them because they've been more than great to me behind the scenes, you know what I mean? And he doesn't want to take credit for anything. So what we're going to have now this year is going to be called the Archer. And then we're going to give the award to the head coach of the state championship dual team winners. And it's going to be strictly his thing. So when he goes home, he's going to have it on his mantle. He's going to have it in his office. When people walk and meet him at a business meeting or he's out recruiting or somebody comes by to help him, boom, You can tell them, yeah, you won the archer 5 years from now. Yeah, that's right, you won the archer that year. Or, oh, I got 3 archers. What are you, Archie Griffin? You know what I mean? So, yeah, that's what it's going to be, and it's going to be a tribute to both Bill and Diane.
I think that's a great idea.
I think they're great people.
If you've been around wrestling, the things that the archers have done for wrestling in the state is just unbelievable, and they continue to do it. And I think that's an outstanding idea. And I'm looking forward. You in one particular article. You were referred to a Ryan O'Neal, Richard Dreyfuss.
Yeah,
Gene Wilder persona.
Gene Wilder was a good part of it, too. Yeah.
One of your family members said more like Ronald McDonald.
Yeah, buddy.
Of course, Ryan O'Neal and Gene Wilder is not with us anymore. But,
that's a pretty subtle hint there, Wayne.
But I do appreciate you're a true ambassador of the sport of wrestling. Not just West Virginia, but everywhere. And I'd love to talk to you when the college stuff gets heated up. And is there anything else on your bucket list that you want to do? Or where would you like to see this tournament evolve? You got girls wrestling coming up. You've got other things.
Well, there's other things, and again, we could talk for hours. When it comes to wrestling, I enjoy it. I love it. It's been great to me, so I want to give back. And there's so many people around that it's fun to hang around with. Bottom line is, with the state duels right now, we're sitting pretty good. What I'd like to do is for the women, the girl wrestling. It would be nice. And I looked at the numbers too, because they always say, why don't we have a single A dual team state championship? Wayne, I put the numbers together, and I don't want to say it out loud, but I think only 4 teams had 10 or more wrestlers entered into the regional. So it's hard to put that together. Again, we're trying to promote dual meets. We're trying to promote wrestling. So even if you take those best 4 teams, they're both missing 4 wrestlers each. That's 8 forfeits. People don't want to come out and see that, all right? So I think it worked out really well with the double A, single A, because we've had a lot of single A teams already qualify. But back to what I was saying about the women, what I'd like to see, and I looked at the numbers from their state championships, I would love to put an all-star team together from each region. All right, does that make sense? So they would have an all-star team from Region 1, Region 2, Region 3, Region 4. They would come at the state dual championships, and they would have their individual tournament, and they would be competing as an all-star team. It's a thought. We're throwing all kinds of ideas. I will not... I even ask, every time I send something out to the coaches, I said, do you have any questions, suggestions, ideas, concerns? Let me know. I want to help it. I'll do whatever the coaches want. So that's the idea as far as the women wrestling goes. I'd love to have something like that. Because I don't know of many that have an actual full team. But could you imagine the excitement these girls come in here for a state championship? It's like an all-star team. So this girl that you really idolize from Parkersburg South, she's on your team with you. You got this other one, and you got these, and you're representing your whole region, and you go out there, and we'll take care of them, and they'll get the gifts, and it'll be. I think that would be tremendous. I think that'd be a big fun. Now you got me fired up on that again.
Good idea.
Yeah.
Well, Brian, I appreciate you talking to me. You got anything else you want to discuss?
You go ahead and leave. I'll keep talking. I'll be here for a while. No, I'm kidding.
Well, good luck with, I hope you don't hit any weather problems or anything like that with the tournament. It's always something about wrestling. You never know. But I do appreciate you talking to us, and we wish you the best of luck. And anytime you want to get back on the podcast, we'd love to have you.
Well, Wayne, I thank you more than enough. People don't realize how much you do for the sport of wrestling, too, and everything you do is great, and I appreciate that. And wrestling's just a great sport. America needs wrestling, and it's just tremendous. So, well, thank you very much. I appreciate it.
And anybody else out there that'd like to be on our podcast, we'll get you on here. You just hit me up at awbennett50@gmail.com. And remember, until next time, if you're not dead yet, you're not done yet. And God bless you.